going to speak to you through experience, not necessarily through education. But my husband is native to this area, and I did not know what the term local meant until I moved here like 40 years ago. And so he knows a lot about the weather and the soil conditions and that kind of thing. So I'm going to combine what he knows about the weather with how to grow dahlias in this specific area. So let's start with planting dahlias. And by the way, Miles is going to pass around a tablet, I hope, and I have a handout, but you can't have one today. Nope. Because I don't have enough. But it's about an 8-page handout that goes all the way from planting to digging and storing and that kind of thing, which is what we're going to go over. So if you will give me your email address, I will email you a copy of this article. So I'm sure that Miles is going to come forth here.
You pass it out for me?
No, it's just I need a tablet for them to write their email.
Oh, Lynn, we're going to give you the one from Sign Up Today. We got it.
Does it have emails?
It has everything.
Okay, good. All right, good, super. All right, the other thing I'm going to add to the door prizes today, I brought you a flat of dwarf dahlias, which I grew from seed. This is probably the easiest thing to do. I have been, and I don't use a growth retardant on a lot of things. I just pinch and pinch and pinch until they become real bushy. So that's what I did with these. These are the Figaro dwarf mixed dahlias. And they've been pinched back on a regular basis. They're in bud now, getting ready to bloom. So I don't know how you handle door prizes, but you might want to draw several numbers, and that should be one of them. Okay?
We'd be delighted to.
Okay. All right. Do you grow vegetables at all? Okay. Well, dahlias are kind of the same as vegetables. You don't want to plant your dahlias until you're ready to plant your vegetables, because the ground should be about 60 degrees, and around here that's tough. And you don't want the green to show from the bulbs and have frost come, because that will kill the green. It's not that the bulbs will come back, but it will just be a setback for your bulbs. So wait until you the ground is of sufficient quality. Now, when your dahlias start to come up, what you don't want to do is fertilize them. You want to wait on that. And I brought you an example of this. You don't want to use, I'm sure you know the composition of fertilizer, but you know it's the first number, nitrogen, that makes your plants very green. Well, your dahlias are already going to be green. They're going to have plenty of leaves on them and that kind of thing. And so what you want to use is something like a triple superphosphate. And that's good for anything else that you grow, even tomatoes. If you want to force a plant to do so, if your plant is doing everything you want it to do, then you use something general, like 10-10-10, 17-17-17, whatever. But if you want to force the plant to do something, you have to subtract from the numbers that you don't want and elevate the number that you do want. So this is, I think it's 0460, and it's the middle number that promotes blooming, and that's what you want to do. So you want to wait after you plant your dahlias until they get about 1.5 feet tall. And these are not good examples. I tried to get people to do what I want them to do, and they're habituated to doing something else. But I'm going to tell you how it should be done, not necessarily how these were done. When your plant gets to be about 1.5 feet tall, you want to pinch it. And every place that you pinch it, and you can see, with tomato plants we call these suckers, you can see where these little stems are coming out between the main stem and the leaf stem. Okay, whenever you cut any kind of a plant at that point, what it's going to do is going to double up. So it's going to send out several shoots at the point where you cut it. So what happens if you let it grow tall like this and you start cutting it is you're going to have a thin stalk and a lot of stuff at the top, and what's going to happen to the plant? Flop. Okay? So it's going to kill you to do it, but what you need to do is start cutting back early. And I would suggest that whenever you have a bloom like this is the Park's Princess, that when you cut a bloom, that occasionally you cut it all the way back to here. Because what you're going to have at the end of the summer is a superior plant and still lots of blooms, but you're going to have a good base for your blooms to grow up on so that they won't flop. And of course, you know, you can stake your dahlias, the tall ones, and the shorter ones good for containers. The reason that we grow the taller ones in containers is because we sell them in the greenhouse. And I will tell you that we have maybe 10 dahlias left out of hundreds and hundreds that we grew. So there's a huge demand for dahlias in this area. It's just one of the most showy plants. But anyway, the size of the bloom, just like the size of your vegetables. If you grow tomatoes on your back deck, the size of your tomatoes is going to be contingent upon the size of your pot. So the same thing applies to dahlias. You're just not going to get dinner plate dahlias from pot growing. So keep them trimmed, and really if you're going to grow in pots, only do the ones that are either dwarf or have the smaller blooms on them. Okay, one of the things I want you to feel free to do is to stop me if I leave out something or if you have questions. Anybody so far?
When here around here, when are you clear from a frost standpoint? What normal?
Well, that's real iffy. I would start watching the weather reports as of April the 15th. Our actual date is Mother's Day, around May the 15th. So we're never really clear. Like this year, we could have planted around the end of April and been safe. In previous years, I remember one year when we had 6 inches of snow on the 6th and another 6 inches of snow on the 11th of May. So you never really know unless you look at the long-term weather report. But you can start watching at the end of April or sometime in May. Okay?
Do you still pinch if you have them planted in the ground or not in containers?
Oh yeah.
I didn't see how you did it.
No,
we couldn't see over here.
Okay.
How you pinch.
You can't see beyond me, you said? Okay, you just go down to where there's a leaf nodule. Okay, where, here. Miles, we got some scissors somewhere or something. I might be able to pinch one of these off.
Yep.
Or maybe I can pull one out.
There you go.
Okay. Really, the best way to do this is to run your finger down. I cut this. Can you turn the other way? Yes, I can. Okay, now the people over here can't see. Okay, the best thing to do is just run your finger down the stem, and when you get to a set of leaves, then cut it there. Okay? And, like, see, this should have been cut here. Alright? And it's better to, if you see another little sucker coming out from right here, it's better to go down to that intersection and cut it from there, because then you already have leaves coming out. Okay? Did I do okay on that?
So you're saying that we don't go to the main stem and cut it, the main stem?
Well, the first time you cut it, after it gets to be about 1.5 feet tall, cut the main stem, cut it back. But as you need to shape it. This one has not been shaped, okay? And I don't even see any indication at all that it's ever been cut back, which disturbs me, because we talk about this and talk about it. And I think what they have a concept of is when you get something tall like this one over here, that's the only one that needs to be cut back. But that's not true. They all need to be trimmed and shaped to have a really beautiful plant. And you might get blooms a little bit later, but it's okay because your blooms will be superior.
So when you cut that main stem, and you're cutting, like how low are you going to go?
Okay, that's really kind of like a judgment call.
It's tough to do that main stem.
Yeah, it
Because
is.
your first showy blossom is in that.
Okay, the rule of thumb is go up 3 leaf nodules or intersections or whatever. Okay, and where you on that 3rd set of leaves, that's where you cut the main stem.
What shape are you aiming for? Like a rose?
Well, it's kind of like your body, you know. They come in all shapes and sizes, but it's what you want, not necessarily a correct way to do it. So if you want something that is really bushy like this, you cut it accordingly. If you want something to grow up straight, you cut it accordingly. But what you want is a lot of bush down here, so that you got really good support down here. Okay, so I would have cut the main stem on this one. Okay, and that's another thing too. If you have a dahlia bulb that you haven't separated in a long time and it's got several eyes to it, you're going to have several main stems. Cut them off. Yeah, cut them off.
Cut all of them off? You cut them all off?
Yeah, every main stem, because if you plant a dahlia that has a lot of eyes in it, you're going to get a whole lot of main stems. And so what you want is even, and that way it'll grow evenly and it won't be scraggly like on the sides.
So you keep all the main stems. You don't cut.
Well, you don't cut them off.
Short. You don't cut them completely off.
No, you don't cut them completely off. You just short them.
Like this plant, what would be your plan?
Okay.
It's tall and lanky.
It is.
Can you cut it so that in a month or two it will?
Yes. Well, you can cut it at any time, and after it starts growing and it's real healthy, it's fine to go ahead
So you
and
take
cut
all
it
the
back.
flowers off and then you cut it up?
Yes. The easiest way for me to do it is just to wait until you have a dead flower like this, and go all the way down on that stem, and eventually you'll have a nice plant, and it's not going to look like you've chopped it.
How much sun?
Full. At least 8 hours a day. Okay.
I bought, let's see, 2 dahlias at this shop near the club. And when I
That
got
would be
one of
Scotland's
them,
Go ahead.
when I bought 2 of those, one of them hasn't bloomed at all.
Okay. Right here. Yeah. Force it into bloom.
Yeah. It's odd.
Yeah. Okay, there's another thing that's odd about dahlias too, and that's insects. You might have a problem with Japanese beetles, and if you do that, you can sprinkle them with 7 dust, which would probably be the best thing. It doesn't. It just makes it less tasty to the beetles who are coming in, and it will destroy the ones that are there.
The blossoms where you sprinkle a lot of flowers?
Yeah, no, on the leaves everywhere. Okay, the other thing is a lady came in the other day and she had bought like 6 or 8 dahlias, and 2 of them went by the wayside, and she didn't know exactly what had happened to them. We were happy to replace them, but another problem you'll have is spider mites. And when you have spider mites, what happens is the leaves get yellow spots, and then they turn brown, and then your plant looks like it lacks water. But those are mites, and you can get rid of those with any insecticidal spray. Now,